Good morning, everyone. It's Betty. I am going to be talking about day 6 for the Vipassana silent meditation retreat. And I've been reading up on and really studying the lessons from day 6. And so I'm going to walk you through kind of a summary of what we talked about last week, and also tell you a little bit about what happened this week. And not just on day 6, the key learnings from day 6, but also I want to talk to you about how my week went this week and what I noticed that was a little bit different. There were a lot of learnings this week and a lot of things that happened that were completely different than before, and I actually surprised myself this week. So it'll be interesting to kind of go through this with all of you. So just to recall, I've been talking about a 10-day silent meditation retreat that I went through 7 weeks ago. And it was 10 days of total silence. The first 3 days were all about getting your mind clear. And then the rest of the time was about real Vipassana, which I will be talking to you a little bit about in just a little bit. The first 3 days clearing your mind, we used our breath, just breathing in and out and really focusing on a very small area of your nostrils and getting the area that we were focusing on even more and more narrow to the point where we were just focusing on this particular area from the tip of the nose just down to here. The very first day was a broader area and just really focusing on your breath. Why focus on the breath? Because it's something that is empirical, because it's something that nobody can tell you that you're not breathing in or out. It's actually something that you just do. And so it was just a really good way. And today what I found was in the times when I had fleeting thoughts and I really needed to focus on something at work or in a personal conversation, I would just really focus on my breath. And as long as I was focusing on my breath, then I was actually able to clear my mind and to only focus on one thing. And I will tell you, some of the things as I was going through this week this morning and thinking about what is different in my way of being and how am I different, some of the things were actually really incredible for me anyway. But I'll talk to you in just a little bit. So that was the first 3 days, and then the 4th day we went right into Vipassana, which is where we start really feeling the sensations in our body. And the reason why we felt the sensations in our body was because we feel sensations in our body as a result of outside stimuli, either negative or positive stimuli. So I'll walk you through a little bit of explanations or examples on how this week I felt some stimuli from the outside and how that felt, and then my reaction to it. The whole idea of Vipassana is just to really take a look at your hola Luis Alberto, ¿cómo estás? Just to take a look at your life and take a look at things as they come into your life equanimously. And the word equanimity is a new word for me, and that has to do with looking at things as they are, not as you wish them to be, but as they actually are. And so we focus on craving and aversion and staying away from craving, staying away from aversion. And craving, for example, if you really want that corner office and you will only stop at, if you don't get it, then you're devastated. Anything that you really want that you get devastated if you don't get, it pretty much takes control of you. And so if you allow things to take control of you, then you are just allowing the everything around you to control you, rather than you controlling your own reaction to things that happen to you, whether those things are negative or things are positive. So when you're craving something that badly, then all of a sudden you start thinking about these things from an objective point of view, rather than I want it, and my life is gonna be devastated if I can't have it or him or her or whatever that is. Likewise, the aversion piece, and I'm looking at my notes because I took some notes for you to be able to follow, but I'll walk you through that if you want to just grab a piece of paper and a pen, because you'll be writing some things if you want to, so that you can remember later. But the aversion piece is really interesting. When you get something negative that happens in your life, then all of a sudden you say, well, I don't want that person in my life anymore, and you cut them completely off, without really realizing or thinking about where did that person come from and what did they really mean to say. So what we do is we allow the feelings or the sensations in our body, hey Chris, the feeling or the sensations in our body to really dictate what's going to happen in our mind. And one of the things that I want to read to you that came from the teachings, by the time this sensation reaches your conscious level, it has been repeated and intensified trillions of times and has become so strong that it can easily overpower the mind. And I thought that this piece, and I'll repeat it again, by the time the sensations reach the conscious level, it has been repeated and intensified trillions of times, and it has become so strong that it can easily overpower the mind. And that is exactly the essence of what I learned in that 10-day silent meditation retreat. So let me go back and talk to you about the model. And this is pretty much my notes. So you have a mental imprint, and the mental imprint creates a contact. The mental imprint happens as a result of something that happened in your childhood or in your past that created just a real significant mental imprint in your mind. Somebody treated you badly. For me, when I was little, my dad, we went to a party, and I really wanted to watch, and we went to this party for First Communion for somebody, and my dad gave me 2 watches to give to the 2 people that were having First Communion, and I made it up in my head that I wasn't good enough to have my own watch. And that stayed in my mind. So that was a mental imprint. So when I came to the United States, I was 12 years old. The first thing I did was I asked for a watch, and my Aunt Ruby bought me a watch. It was a Timex watch, and I just felt like, okay, well, now I got my watch. But it can be anything in your childhood, or it can be anything in your life. So that creates that mental imprint. Hey Dolores, how are you from Los Angeles? And so once you have that mental imprint as a result of something that happened either in your childhood or even in adulthood, just a trauma, some sort of trauma or some sort of significant experience you had, that creates sensations in your body. Now, if you think about, hey Sue, good morning. If you think about sensations in your body, and they went a little bit deeper on day 6 about the sensations in your body. So let me just stop for a moment. Good morning, Melanie. ¿Cómo estás from Europe? Absolutely. I'm so, yeah, it's my pleasure, Dolores. You know, the inputs in your body, if you think about the earth and everything that is happening on earth, you have water, you have air, you have fire, and you have earth. And all of those things you can feel in your body. So they started getting us to really feel the sensations in our body. And when we had a negative sensation, all of a sudden you feel fire, you feel heat. And think about when you get really upset at somebody and you begin to feel these sensations, and your body begins to get really hot and warm. Connie, San Francisco, how are you? And so It's those sensations that you begin to feel, but by the time those sensations get to your mind, they've been multiplied trillions of times, like I said earlier, and they can actually overtake your mind. And that's when you have your amygdala that fires and you have this fight or flight reaction. When you just spat out at somebody. Have you been to a meeting or have you been in an argument with somebody you love, and then all of a sudden you say something and you wish that you could grab it back? Because you said it and it was, where did that come from? And it was really mean and it was something that you really didn't mean to say. Well, it's because those sensations have been multiplying themselves in your body, in your cells, and your mind is now overpowered, so you couldn't grab it. So the whole idea of this type of meditation, the Vipassana, is to really understand the sensations in your body. So before they get to your conscious mind, you have already stopped it because you recognize the sensations in your body, and then you're not reacting so very quickly to things that happen, either negative or positive stimuli. It's pretty impressive, but there's something else that happened. But let me continue with this model. So again, I'm just going through pieces of the model, and I just drew this for myself so that I could understand it. So if you want to just grab a piece of paper. So the first square is the mental imprint. The second is the contact. So the mental imprint is already in your mind as a result of something that happened when you were little or a significant situation that happened. And then you have contact either by your eyes or your ears, taste or tangible object that you touch. And that creates a sensation in your body. And that sensation is the link between the external object and your reaction. So all of a sudden, by being able to meditate and to understand the sensations in your body, you now have a link or a filter between the external object, whatever that is, and your reaction to it. So you're not reacting so very quickly. You don't say things. You don't send out an email really quickly and give a really quick response, and then you can't return it or you can't retract it. Those sensations are either pleasant or unpleasant sensations, and this is just a review from last week. The pleasant sensations may cause you to crave. So something really yummy, you may want it more. And then if you have too much, then you're going to get sick, right? So you want to be able to have control over those sensations, over either it's pleasant or even if it's unpleasant. If it's an unpleasant sensation because it's something that someone said to you, then all of a sudden that mental imprint creates that fiery feeling inside of you, and then you just spit out and you say something without thinking about it. You may hurt someone, or you may cut them off completely without really understanding, well, I don't want to take that phone call from that person, or I don't want to talk to that person because the sensation they're causing me is negative, instead of wisdom. So that's where wisdom really comes, from the place of understanding that everything in life comes and goes. And so if everything in life comes and goes, then why do we pay so much attention to any one thing or any one person when they're hurting us or when they're driving us to crave something so badly that if we don't have it, we're going to become miserable? So, good morning, Adriana. Thank you for joining. So, think about where wisdom comes. It's, why are we reacting to something that is negative? Why are we reacting to something that is extreme positive when we can actually have something or a reaction that is more objective, and when we can ponder and take our time? So I was thinking about learning to react instead of reacting, and I was thinking about my week, my work week, and there was one more thing that I wanted to bring up that I learned that was very profound, and that is the ability to really focus on one thing at a time. As a result of being able to clear my mind and really only focus on one thing at a time, what I have found, and this is my 7th week after my 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat, and it was all silent, and we can talk about why it was silent. If you want to know kind of the basics, just watch my very first video 7 weeks ago. But one of the biggest insights was being able to really think about one thing at a time, which made my mind a lot more effective, a lot more efficient, and I'll explain to you. I'll give you some examples just from this week, although in every week I've had different examples of this. And also being able to make decisions a lot quicker and being able to be a lot more focused. There's an example of something that happened this week. On the 2nd, I had 2 things. I did an Executive Thought Leaders Roundtable at the Rose Bowl, and I had 20 people, 20 guests, with a couple of my executives, and we were really focusing on having our guests, our clients, and their friends really gain a lot of value from the workshop. And I can tell you that I had originally thought that it was going to take us about 4 hours to get this workshop done. We got everything done in 2 hours, and I was able to think a lot quicker. And normally I think very quickly, but I felt like I was able to think a lot quicker and add a lot more value, so much so that I was able to get a lot of wisdom in the feedback I got this time around. And we've been doing these for over a year, but the feedback I got from the clients was completely over the top in terms of the wisdom they gained and the insight they gained for their business and all of that. Yeah, I agree with you, Chris. Peace, love, and respect should drive our thought patterns. Yes, absolutely. Namaste to you too. And so there was another thing that happened this week, and it didn't dawn on me until I was really thinking through. I recorded for EBSCOT, and EBSCOT is an organization, EBSCOT. It's an organization that gets thought leaders, the very best thought leaders around the world, and they record little vignettes, 2 to 3 minute vignettes on actionable things that they can use in their business, and it's all leadership related. And I was asked to record, and I actually recorded 10 of these. 1 vignette on how to discover your values, on how to effectively lead change in an organization, a 60-second rule, and if you want to know about that, that's the key to getting into anything. How to provide tough feedback, keys to holding accountable your team, the mirror effect, which is something that was discovered when the corporate executive board did a case study on my bank, and the turnaround that we did, and they discovered something that I do that's a little bit different. Enabling collaboration, the difference between leadership and management, creating sustainable results, and why leaders should be followers, and the importance of listening. Those were the vignettes. And I had to stand in front of a camera and actually speak from my own experience about each of those topics. In the past, I have done these, and I did these before my book, Hashtag Values, came out. And I had to do a few retakes, and I wasn't 100% clear. Literally, I stood and I would record. The director would tell me, okay, the next topic is how to discover your values. And I would just clear my mind and then immediately go about. And I did the very first vignette, and they said, that's perfect. Okay, the next one. I only had to do a retake on one of them, and that was how to effectively lead change. And that was because I have 11 steps for leading change, which are the chapters of my next book that I already started writing, and it's going to be called, I think, Putting Hashtag Values to Work. Anyway, those 11 steps, I had done them in about 7 minutes, and they said, if you can bring them down to about 5 minutes, that would be great. So all I had to do was stop, clear my mind, really focus on what I was doing, and without having to think about who's paying the bills or am I late or anything else. I was so focused. I got it down to 4 minutes and 40 seconds. All 11 steps, I was able to articulate how do you completely change an organization from creating trust all the way to creating vision and values, and all the way to creating accountability, and to changing the organization and creating profitability, all in 4 minutes and 40 seconds. That was amazing to me, and it was unbelievable to the director who does this all over the world with the greatest thought leaders around the world. So something like that for me was a huge aha on how clear and how focused my mind is continuously becoming. The feedback I got from the director that night, we went out to dinner with a couple of people from the crew, and then another a gentleman, Mark Goldstein. If you haven't read his book on listening, please do, because it's highly, highly recommended. And we had dinner that night, and the feedback I got was, you are incredibly focused, you are incredibly articulate, you're able to articulate the key points with giving specialized, just real key examples to reinforce the key points in such a way. And I really don't think I would have gotten the same feedback before I went through this Vipassana silent meditation, because my mind has always, and those of you who know me, you know that I've always thought in 100 different directions, 100 miles an hour. And so when you are scattered like that, you show up scattered. But when you're focused, you show up in a totally different way, a lot more focused, a lot more clear. We had a team meeting on the 3rd of May, and our team meeting, we handled a heck of a lot more in our meeting than we did in the past. We handled a strategy for creating inspiring leaders and leaders who really are up to sustainable results. And because I've already created that with my team, we wanted to create that all the way down to every single individual that has a management position in my organization. And then I had a breakfast with Dr. Daniela Strupa, who's the president of Chapman University, and I'm really excited because we have collected, actually, the Give Back Foundation with Bob Carr, who's in my book. He donated $1 million, and we're putting 54 kids through college, underserved kids in Southern California through college. So I had a breakfast meeting with Dr. Strupa. And I found myself, normally in these meetings, I spend a lot of time really understanding and getting to know the person. And then by the time 30 minutes comes, I only have 30 minutes to get my point across on what I wanted to do. And in this particular meeting, we talked about, we have 5 kids that are ready to go. And in fact, I'm going to be talking to Bob Carr. I spoke with him briefly this morning about the kids. And thinking about how do we really focus on mentoring them throughout their time together, because these are kids that didn't grow up with examples. Most of these kids are the first kids that are going to be going through college. And in that breakfast, we were able to put together strategies for really supporting the kids, an opportunity for Dr. Strupa, the president of Chapman, and me to sit and maybe have a roundtable with the kids throughout the year. I also talked to him about the challenges he has and gave him some advice on how to change and move the organization forward with positive thoughts around the diversity that is in the university and in the vicinity, and some things that he can do to really do that. And so he started taking notes, and we were just really brainstorming, and in exactly 1 hour, we got about twice or 2.5 times as many things done as we normally get done in any one area. It's 8:31. I've got just a couple more minutes, so I'm just going to leave you with one last thing that was brought up in my day 6 discourse. And those were 2 things. There is input that comes into your body, And I've been paying really close attention to this part also. And there's two ways that input comes into your body. One is food, and the other one is your environment. And it's whatever you put in your mind. So whatever you put in your body and whatever you put in your mind. Think about when you eat, and think about what happens in your body when you overeat. They told us and they taught us during this 10 days that it's good to leave about 25% empty, your stomach. And so not overeat in each meal. And so it just allows your mind to be more clear. And I am finding that is something really extraordinary for me. Not only how much I eat at any one time, but also, hey Juancho, where are you? You're always all over the world. And so not only what I eat, not how much I eat, but also what I put in my body. Do I put heavy things in my body that make me feel lethargic, or do I put things that are healthy in my body? So that's one thing. And then the second thing that they taught us is what you put around your mind in your environment. One of the things I have been doing is cleaning up my life since I came back from the 10-day silent meditation, Vipassana. What I mean by cleaning up my life, I started taking inventory of the loose ends that I have in my life. And I think if I'm honest with myself, which I am, I can tell you that there are many loose ends when we work full time and we dedicate our lives to our job. Hey Randy, oh my goodness, hi from Asia, love you. And so think about when we work full time, how many things we have in our life that we are leaving for later and later and later. Well, those things take time and space in our mind. And so when we're having a conversation, say with a loved one, and we start getting those glossy eyes because we're thinking about a loose end or something that is taking space in our mind, how wonderful would it be to be able to just focus on them 100%, whether they are an employee, a family member, a friend, or a client, or someone that we care deeply about, and being able to just be present 100% with them. Well, I think clearing our mind is not just a matter of the thoughts that come into our head, but also clearing our environment. What does our environment look like? And is it messy? Do we have bills that need to be paid that are kind of piling up? Do we have, for me, hey Claudia, how are you? Love you. So do we have things that are cluttering our minds? And what is it that we're allowing to clutter our minds? And are we just waiting and postponing things that need to be done today? Are we postponing a conversation that we wanted to have with somebody that we love, and maybe mend things up with someone that we had an argument with? Those things are cluttering our minds, and those things are the ones that are going to be keeping us from being able to make quick decisions. So again, this week, what I found was my mind was a lot more clear. I was able to make quick decisions. The decisions were a lot faster than usual, which I'm usually very fast on my feet. I was able to articulate some things, and as I'm getting ready to speak at the California Women's Conference on Thursday, by the way, California Women's Conference, we're expecting 10,000 women, and I'm speaking on the main stage about #values, my new book, and about the sculpture that you see right there. I'm going to tell a story about it. And it's just an amazing thing that we're going to be doing at the California Women's Conference. But as I'm thinking through and making decisions on the book signing booth and the speech and the VIP reception that we're having in the evening, and who we're going to be inviting to the VIP reception, and some pretty special people from Washington, D.C. may be showing up, and from Hollywood. So we're very excited about that. But thinking about all of these things in addition to the things that I have to do at work and my family and my kids, and all of us are very busy, I am able to focus on one thing at a time And I think the biggest example this week was on those 10 vignettes that I was able to record. In one of them, they actually used a teleprompter because it was too many things. But being able to record 11 steps to changing an organization in 4 minutes and 40 seconds with examples for each one of them, to me, it seems mind-boggling, but we were able to do it. And my voice didn't have to go faster. I was able to just really focus, and every word counted. So I'll leave you with that. I hope that you gained some insight. Again, the training, or the training was called Vipassana, Vipassana, Silent Meditation Retreat. It was 10 days. And for me personally, I gained so much insight and so much wisdom, and I'm able to focus more, and I am more effective, I am more efficient, and I'm able to get my point across in a more precise way, because I have trained my mind now to be a lot more precise. Also, my reactions to negative and positive external stimuli have completely changed. I don't just react to something. I have that filter, which is my body, the sensations in my body. I feel them in my body before my voice reacts, before my amygdala hits, and I go into that fight or flight from negative stimuli, or that craving from the positive stimuli. So I hope this helps you in your life. I just wanted to take a moment and share this with you. That was day 6. Next week on Saturday morning, I will share with you the key learnings and the insight from day 7. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful week, and I wish you the very best. And hi, Bob, and I will talk to you next week. Bye, everyone.